All right, so we're diving into a tricky one today. Reversing dropship sales orders in Acumatica. And to make it even trickier, we're talking about situations where the vendors already sent the goods directly to the customer. So it's not your typical return to the warehouse kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
So to help us unpack all of this, we have Mamta with us today. She's got over 13 years of experience in ERP. And get this, she's tackled over 150 unique Acumatica scenarios.
Wow.
She's also part of the team at Tiana Solutions, which, by the way, is the biggest Acumatica services partner out there. So they've pretty much seen it all.
Yeah, they really have. So to get us started, let's imagine a dropship order that just goes completely sideways.
Hmm.
Maybe it gets sent to the wrong customer, or I don't know, the order just gets canceled. And now the goods are just sitting there on the customer's doorstep, but they shouldn't be.
Oh, I've been there.
So how do you actually get those back to the vendor? And then how do you make sure that everybody involved gets their money back?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? So how do we
Yeah.
fix this?
Well, Mamta, she's got a solution for us. She actually uses a real-world example from a client who had to reverse a dropship order. And get this, after it had already been invoiced and delivered.
Oh, wow. Talk about a stressful situation.
Yeah, no kidding. There's zero room for error when you're dealing with something like that. So what Mamta did is she came up with this series of steps, very precise steps, all within Acumatica. And it all starts with creating a new sales order. But here's the catch. It has to have a specific order type, either RT or RMA, which stands for Return or Return Merchandise Authorization. That basically tells Acumatica, hey, this is a reversal, not a regular sale.
Gotcha. So you're basically creating like a mirror image of the original transaction,
Hmm.
but with the intention of like hitting the undo button.
Exactly. And this new sales order, it actually gets linked to the original invoice. That's super
Yeah.
important because it pulls in all those little details, you know? And most importantly, it keeps that dropship connection intact.
Okay, I see. I see. That makes sense. Acumatica needs to understand the full context of what's going on, but
Mhm.
how do we actually get the goods back to the vendor, like within the system?
Right. So that's where things get really interesting. The next step is you actually generate a vendor return, and you process it like a regular purchase receipt. So
Oh,
in Acumatica, at least, that brings the goods back from the customer to the vendor.
okay. So it's kind of like you're simulating the physical return of the goods, even though they're going straight from the customer to the vendor.
Exactly, exactly. And then, to make sure the financial trail is completely accurate, you issue what's called a debit adjustment to the vendor, and then you apply that to the original vendor bill. That way, the vendor gets their money back.
Oh, that's smart. It's like you're rewinding that whole financial transaction.
Exactly. And then finally, you prepare an invoice, but on that return sales order, and that generates a credit memo for the customer, which is then applied to their original invoice.
Okay, so this whole process, it ensures that the vendor and the customer, they both get credited properly and that the financial records are all, perfect. It really speaks to Mamta's expertise,
Right.
in navigating these complex scenarios.
Oh, absolutely. And what's even more amazing is that this is just one example of the crazy situations that Mamta and the whole Tiana Solutions team have tackled.
I know, right? It's like this
Wow.
carefully choreographed dance you got to do in Acumatica.
Yeah. And what I find really interesting is how, this whole process ensures that everything is financially accurate. Like, if you didn't link that new sales order back to the original invoice, Acumatica would be totally lost, right? It could create all sorts of accounting nightmares.
Oh, absolutely. It's all about keeping that connection crystal clear. So Acumatica knows, like, hey, this isn't just some random return. This is a direct reversal of this specific dropship transaction.
Right, right. I know some people listening might be thinking, ugh, this sounds so complicated. But Mamta, she actually lays it all out in a way that's surprisingly easy to follow. She does, yeah. She walks you through every single step, like right there in the Acumatica interface. How to create that return sales order, how to generate the vendor return, how to issue that debit adjustment, and then how to prepare that final credit memo.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I really like how she uses like a specific example. It makes it so much easier to like visualize the whole process.
Right. She talks about this client who accidentally shipped a whole drop ship order to the wrong customer.
Oh, no.
And to make things worse, the order had already been invoiced and the customer had the goods in their hands.
Oh, man. So they were like totally stuck, right? They needed to get those goods back. They needed to issue a credit
Hmm.
and they had to like make things right with the vendor.
Exactly, exactly. And Mamta's solution, it basically gave them a clear roadmap out of that mess. Like by following her process step by step, they were able to, fix the situation and make everybody happy.
Yeah. It's like she's a master of untangling these like super naughty situations.
She really is. And, it really highlights how important it is to understand what Acumatica can actually do. Like when you know how to use the system's features, you can solve like almost anything.
Right. Right. It's empowering to know that those solutions, they're already there, like
Yeah.
built into Acumatica. It's not always about like brute forcing a fix.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's about understanding the nuances of the system and then using those to your advantage.
Exactly, exactly. And that's where having expertise like Momta's, it becomes so valuable. She's not just like an Acumatica expert. She's a problem solver.
Yeah.
She sees the challenge and she finds like a creative way to overcome it using the tools that are already there.
Yeah. It's like having like a secret weapon in your Acumatica arsenal.
Oh, I love that analogy. Now, speaking of secret weapons, can we talk about Tiana Solutions for a second? They're like a force to be reckoned with in the Acumatica world, right?
Oh, absolutely. They're the largest Acumatica services partner out there. So they have like this incredibly deep understanding of the platform. And they've got this team of like seriously skilled consultants.
They've worked with so many clients across like every industry imaginable, and they've seen it all, from simple implementations to these like crazy customized
Right.
solutions.
So they're not just like a one-trick pony. They have this like breadth and depth of experience that's really hard to find.
And that's what makes them such a valuable resource for like any Acumatica consultant, whether you're, facing a specific challenge on a project or you just need like some ongoing support. Tiana Solutions has got your back.
Yeah. It's like having an extension of your own team, like a whole group of experts you can call on whenever you need them.
And what I find really impressive is like their commitment to customer satisfaction. They go above and beyond to make sure their clients are happy
Right.
and that their Acumatica systems are, running smoothly.
Yeah, you can tell that they genuinely care about helping their clients succeed.
It's like a breath of fresh air in the consulting world. Now, for all of you listening out there, I know a lot of you are dealing with your own Acumatica challenges. What advice would you give based on Mamta's experience and like what we know about Tiana Solutions?
Hmm, that's a good question. I would say don't be afraid to like ask for help. There's no shame in admitting that you need some assistance.
Mhm.
And there are experts out there who are like more than happy to lend a hand. Sometimes the best solution is like tapping into the collective wisdom of others.
Yeah, that's so true. And with a company like Tiana Solutions, you're basically gaining access to like a treasure trove of knowledge. They can
Yeah.
help you optimize your processes, troubleshoot those really tricky issues, and ultimately like get the most out of your Acumatica system.
Right. It's like having a shortcut to Acumatica mastery.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe your next Acumatica challenge will become our next deep dive.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's what makes this show so exciting. There's always something new to learn and explore in the Acumatica world. Now, for those of you who are like really thinking about this whole dropship scenario,
Yeah.
what really resonated with you? What insights did you like take away?
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to share your thoughts and questions on our website or, on social media. We always love getting feedback from our listeners.
And of course, if you're looking for like expert help with Acumatica,
Mhm.
don't hesitate to reach out to Tiana Solutions. You can reach them at 678-910-2774.
They're a fantastic resource for any Acumatica consultant who wants to, level up their skills and like confidently tackle those really tough situations.
Great advice. Well, that brings us to the end of another deep dive. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in Acumatica. One thing that really stood out to me about Mamta's approach is how she emphasizes the why behind each step. It's not just do this, then do that in Acumatica. She actually explains why it matters, not just for the system, but for, the financial health of the companies involved.
Yeah, totally. It's like she's not just giving us a recipe to follow. She's actually teaching us how to think about these situations, like from a bigger picture perspective.
Right, exactly. And that deeper understanding, it makes a huge difference because it allows us to adapt her solution to all sorts of different scenarios.
Absolutely. Because let's face it, no two situations are ever exactly the same, right? So having that foundational knowledge, that's key.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like this whole deep dive has given us a new lens,
Yeah.
a new way to look at these challenges and the confidence to know that even those really tricky situations, like reversing dropship orders, they can be handled like smoothly and effectively.
Absolutely. And for those of you who are like, all right, I'm ready to put this into practice, don't forget, Tyon Solutions is out there. They're ready to offer that expert guidance.
Yeah, they're a fantastic resource for any Acumatica consultant, anyone who wants to sharpen their skills and just feel more confident when those dropship dilemmas come up. And you can reach them at 678-910-2774.
Perfect. Now, as we're wrapping up this deep dive, we wanted to leave you with one final thought, something to really chew on. What if you're faced with a similar scenario, right? Like we've been talking about, but there's a twist. Imagine those goods, they've already been partially used by the customer. How would you adapt to Mamta's solution then?
Woo, that's a really good question. It really highlights how important it is to understand the underlying principles
Yeah.
so we can apply them in those unique situations.
Exactly. So keep that question in mind as you continue your Acumatica journey.
Yeah, great advice. All right, well, that brings us to the end of another deep dive. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time for another exploration of Acumatica's amazing capabilities.
Until then, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in Acumatica.